Some anime abilities defeat enemies. Reality Erasure removes them completely. This ability does not damage the body. It does not target the soul. It removes existence itself. When Reality Erasure is used, the target does not die. They never existed. No afterlife. No memory. No trace. This ability appears in several anime, but one of the clearest examples comes from Dragon Ball Super. The character who uses it is Zeno. Zeno is not a fighter. He does not train. He does not struggle. He simply decides. When Zeno uses his power, entire universes disappear instantly. This is not an explosion. There is no buildup. One moment, a universe exists. The next moment, it does not. A clear example happens when Zeno erases an entire timeline. Every planet, every star, every living being, all gone at once. Even time itself is erased. This means that nothing from that timeline can ever return. Reality Erasure breaks anime logic because it bypasses every defense. Strength does not matter. Speed does not matter. Durability does not matter. It does not matter how immortal a character is. If they are erased, there is nothing left to regenerate. There is no counter, no strategy, no final transformation. Once this ability exists in a story, power scaling collapses because escalation no longer matters. Why train? Why grow stronger when existence itself can be removed instantly? This also destroys tension. Fights depend on uncertainty. Reality Erasure removes uncertainty entirely. If the ability is used, the outcome is guaranteed. The darker implication of Reality Erasure is that life becomes meaningless. Characters are no longer living beings. They are temporary data, and at any moment, that data can be deleted. This ability does not just break battles, it breaks storytelling, because stories require consequence, and Reality Erasure removes all of them. Some anime abilities affect the world. Narrative control affects the story itself. This is one of the most dangerous powers ever written, because it does not operate inside reality. It operates above it. Narrative control allows a character to treat events as fiction. Outcomes can be rewritten. Deaths can be undone. Losses can be erased. This ability appears most clearly in Umineko When They Cry. The character who represents this power is Featherine Augustus Aurora. Featherine does not fight in the traditional sense. She observes. To her, universes are stories. Characters are pieces in a narrative, and timelines are drafts. Featherine exists on a level where reality is something to be edited. If a story reaches an ending she does not like, she can simply rewrite it. A clear example of this ability appears when characters attempt to outthink or defeat her. Even when an opponent reaches a winning position, Featherine treats it as a failed draft. She rewrites the conditions, changes the outcome, and the victory disappears. This means Featherine cannot truly lose, because losing only exists within the story, and she exists outside of it. Narrative control breaks anime logic because conflict depends on uncertainty. A battle matters because the outcome is unknown. But with narrative control, the ending is never final. Even if the character is defeated, the defeat can be rewritten. This removes tension completely. No sacrifice matters. No clever strategy matters. No emotional climax matters, because everything can be undone with a rewrite. Another example of narrative style control appears in Recreators. The character Altair gains power based on how her story is perceived. As people imagine new outcomes for her, those outcomes become real. She gains new abilities simply because the narrative allows it. In one scene, Altair rewrites events so completely that characters who should have won are suddenly powerless. This shows the same core idea. The story itself becomes the weapon. The darker implication of narrative control is that free will disappears. Characters do not act because of choice. They act because the story demands it. Victory becomes artificial, loss becomes temporary, and existence becomes a script. This ability does not just break power scaling, it breaks meaning. Because when reality is just a story, nothing inside it truly matters. Time manipulation is common in anime, but time reversal without consequences is one of the most broken abilities ever created. This power allows a character to rewind time after failure. Death is undone. Mistakes are erased. Events reset. The world continues as if nothing happened. One of the clearest examples of this ability appears in Re:Zero, Starting Life in Another World. The character who uses it is Subaru Natsuki. Subaru does not control time consciously. Instead, when he dies, time rewinds automatically. He returns to a fixed point in the past. Everyone else forgets what happened. Only Subaru remembers. At first, this seems like a curse. Subaru suffers repeatedly. He dies in painful ways, over and over again. But from a power perspective, this ability is completely broken. No matter how impossible a situation is, Subaru can retry endlessly. If he makes the wrong choice, he dies and tries again. If an enemy kills him, he learns their weakness next time. If an entire world collapses, it can be undone. A clear example appears when Subaru is trapped in situations where every possible choice leads to death. He experiments. He tests outcomes. He sacrifices himself repeatedly until he finds the one path that works. This ability breaks anime logic because failure loses meaning. Normally, death is the ultimate consequence. Here, death becomes information. Pain becomes experience. Loss becomes temporary. Another example of consequence-free time reversal can be seen in Steins Gate. The character Rintaro Okabe gains the ability to retain memories across altered timelines. When time is changed, the world resets. But Okabe remembers everything. In one major arc, Okabe repeatedly changes timelines to save a single person. Each failure is undone. Each death is reversed, until the desired outcome is achieved. The problem with this ability is that tension disappears. If time can always be reset, no moment is final. No tragedy is permanent. No mistake truly matters. The darker implication is that life becomes a puzzle. People stop being people. They become variables. Events are tested, discarded, and retried until the perfect outcome appears. Time reversal without consequences does not reward bravery or skill. It rewards repetition, and repetition eventually guarantees victory. That is why this ability should not exist, because when time itself forgives every mistake, stories lose their weight. Immortality is a common concept in anime. Many characters live longer than humans. Some regenerate from wounds. Some return after death. But absolute immortality is something else entirely. This is not survival. This is permanence. Absolute immortality means a character cannot die, cannot be erased, cannot be permanently sealed. No matter what happens, they always return. One of the clearest examples of this ability appears in Hellsing Ultimate. The character who embodies it is Alucard. Alucard is not simply hard to kill. He is functionally impossible to destroy. He can be shot, blown apart, reduced to nothing but blood, and moments later, he returns. This is because Alucard's existence is tied to the countless souls he has absorbed. Every soul acts as a life. As long as even one soul remains, Alucard can regenerate completely. A clear example of this occurs during his battles with powerful enemies who believe they have finally killed him. His body is destroyed, his head is torn apart, and yet he reforms effortlessly. The enemy realizes too late that killing Alucard once is meaningless. Another example of absolute immortality appears in Ajin, demi-human. Ajins are humans who revive after death. No matter how they are killed, their bodies regenerate perfectly. The character Sato uses this ability strategically. He commits suicide repeatedly during combat. Each death resets his body to peak condition. In one scene, Sato repeatedly kills himself in the middle of battle to gain tactical advantages. This turns death into a weapon. Absolute immortality breaks anime logic because victory becomes impossible. An opponent can fight perfectly. They can land every attack. They can overpower their enemy completely and still lose, because the immortal will always stand back up. There is no final blow, no resolution. The darker implication of absolute immortality is endless suffering. An immortal cannot escape pain, cannot escape consequence. They are trapped in existence forever. But from a narrative perspective, the real damage is balance. If one side cannot lose, conflict becomes meaningless, because battles are only interesting when both sides can fall. Absolute immortality removes that possibility entirely. And when death no longer matters, nothing else does either. Most anime abilities attack the body. Some target the soul. But source destruction goes much deeper than that. This ability does not aim to defeat an opponent. It aims to erase the origin of their existence. Every being has a source, the point where they began, the core that defines them. If the source is destroyed, there is nothing left to revive, no soul to regenerate, no timeline to return to, no concept to restore. One of the clearest examples of source destruction appears in the Misfit of Demon King Academy. The character who uses this power is Anos Voldigoad. In Anos's world, all beings are defined by their source. It is the foundation of their existence, their true self. Anos has the ability to destroy that source directly. When he does, the target does not die in a normal sense. They are erased permanently. A clear example occurs when Anos faces enemies who believe they are immortal. They regenerate instantly. They revive after death. They return stronger than before. But when Anos destroys their source, none of that matters. The regeneration stops. The resurrection fails. The being disappears completely. Even time reversal cannot undo it, because the beginning itself has been erased. Another example of a similar concept appears in Bleach. The character Yhwach gains the power to alter futures and remove outcomes where he loses. While not identical, this ability still attacks existence at its root. When Yhwach changes the future, certain outcomes never happen. Attacks fail before they land. Deaths are rewritten before they occur. This shows how dangerous source-level abilities are. They bypass effort. They bypass defense. They bypass struggle. Source destruction breaks anime logic because it invalidates every other ability. Durability means nothing. Immortality means nothing. Even concepts like fate and time can fail. There is no comeback, no second phase, no miracle recovery. Once the source is gone, the story ends. The darker implication of source destruction is finality. In anime, death is often temporary. Characters return. Legends are reborn. Source destruction removes that comfort. It introduces true erasure. And when true erasure exists, power scaling collapses. Because no matter how strong a character becomes, their entire existence can still be deleted in an instant. That is why source destruction is one of the most broken abilities ever written. Most anime battles are decided by strength. Some are decided by skill, but probability manipulation ignores both. This ability does not overpower enemies. It makes reality unfair. Probability manipulation allows a character to control chance itself. Events that should fail succeed. Events that should succeed fail. Luck becomes a weapon. One of the clearest examples of this ability appears in Gurren Lagann. The concept is embodied by the anti-spiral. The anti-spiral does not simply fight opponents directly. It manipulates the probability of outcomes. No matter how powerful the enemy is, the odds are always stacked against them. Attacks miss. Strategies fail. Hope collapses before victory can occur. A clear example appears during the final conflict, where the anti-spiral traps its enemies in infinite possibilities. Every possible future is shown. Every outcome ends in failure. This is probability manipulation taken to its extreme. The enemy does not lose because they are weak. They lose because winning is statistically impossible. Another strong example of probability manipulation appears in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The character Wonder of You possesses an ability that causes calamity to strike anyone who pursues him. The more someone tries to approach or attack, the worse their luck becomes. Accidents happen. Objects fall. Unlikely events stack together until the attacker is injured or killed. These are not direct attacks. They are outcomes guided by probability. The character does not need to fight. Reality does the work. Probability manipulation breaks anime logic because effort no longer matters. Training does not matter. Skill does not matter. Even intelligence does not matter. If probability is controlled, every action leads to failure. This removes the idea of fairness entirely. The darker implication of probability manipulation is inevitability. Characters are no longer agents of change. They are victims of chance, and that chance is controlled by someone else. When luck itself becomes hostile, there is no strategy left, because even doing nothing can still lead to disaster. This ability turns reality into a rigged game, and in a rigged game, victory is an illusion. Most anime characters exist physically. They have bodies, souls, forms that can be attacked, but conceptual existence removes all of that. A being with this ability does not exist as a person. They exist as an idea. As long as that idea exists, so do they. One of the clearest examples of conceptual existence appears in Puella Magi Madoka Magica. The character who embodies this power is Madoka Kaname in her ultimate form. Madoka does not become stronger in a traditional way. She stops being human entirely. After making her wish, Madoka transforms into a universal concept. She becomes the law that governs magical girls. She exists across all timelines, past, present, future. Madoka cannot be attacked. She cannot be found. She does not appear on battlefields. Instead, she reaches into reality and removes witches before they can exist. A clear example occurs when magical girls are about to fall into despair. Before transformation can happen, Madoka intervenes. The witch never appears. The suffering is erased. This happens everywhere, at all times, because Madoka exists as an idea, not a body. Another example of conceptual existence appears in Death Note. The Shinigami, especially Ryuk, represent the concept of death itself. They are not bound by human rules. Weapons cannot harm them. They observe. They enforce a concept. You cannot kill death. You can only experience it. Conceptual existence breaks anime logic because it removes physical interaction. You cannot punch an idea. You cannot outfight a law. Battles stop being physical and become philosophical. This also removes escalation. No matter how strong a character becomes, they cannot overpower a concept. The darker implication is helplessness. Characters cannot fight back. They cannot resist. They exist under a rule that cannot be challenged. Conceptual beings do not need to win. They simply are. And as long as the concept exists, so do they. This makes conceptual existence one of the most broken abilities in anime, because when an idea gains consciousness, nothing beneath it can oppose it.
Most anime abilities have limits. They have weaknesses, cooldowns, counters. But infinite adaptation removes limits entirely. This ability allows a character to evolve endlessly. Every time they are attacked, they become resistant. Every time they are defeated, they return stronger. Eventually, nothing can harm them. One of the clearest examples of infinite adaptation appears in That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. The character who embodies this power is Rimuru Tempest. Rimuru's abilities allow him to analyze anything he encounters: attacks, magic, skills. Once analyzed, Rimuru can adapt. He gains resistance, then immunity, then control. A clear example occurs when Rimuru faces powerful enemies with abilities far beyond his original level. At first, their attacks work, but after exposure, Rimuru's body and abilities adjust. The same attack no longer harms him. Eventually, it becomes useless. Another strong example of infinite adaptation appears in One Punch Man. The monster Garou evolves during combat. Each time he is defeated, his body adapts. He copies techniques instantly. He develops resistance to attacks that once overwhelmed him. As battles continue, Garou becomes something entirely different, stronger, faster, more dangerous. Infinite adaptation breaks anime logic because time guarantees victory. The longer the fight lasts, the more unfair it becomes. No opponent can remain superior forever. Eventually, adaptation catches up, then surpasses. This removes tension, because no matter how hopeless the situation seems, adaptation promises eventual dominance. The darker implication of infinite adaptation is inevitability. Change becomes unstoppable. Growth becomes uncontrollable. Nothing can remain stronger forever. And once a character adapts to everything, there is nothing left to challenge them. Infinite adaptation does not just break power scaling, it ends it. Because when evolution has no ceiling, every other ability becomes temporary. Most anime battles are decided by choices, decisions, sacrifices, moments of courage. But fate manipulation removes choice entirely. This ability allows a character to control what is destined to happen. Victories are predetermined. Losses are unavoidable. No matter what someone does, the outcome has already been decided. One of the clearest examples of fate manipulation appears in Bleach. The character who uses this ability is Yhwach. Yhwach possesses a power known as the Almighty. This ability allows him to see every possible future. Not one path, all of them. Once Yhwach sees a future, he can choose which one becomes reality. If he sees a future where he is defeated, he simply rejects it. That future stops existing. A clear example occurs during his final battles, when opponents use powerful techniques that should kill him. Yhwach sees those futures, then alters them. Attacks fail before they land. Abilities stop working. Deaths that should occur never happen. From the perspective of his enemies, their powers simply stop functioning, because fate has already been rewritten. Another example of fate manipulation appears in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The Stand King Crimson, used by Diavolo, allows its user to erase segments of time where unfavorable events occur. During these erase moments, Diavolo moves freely. Everyone else follows fate blindly. A clear example happens when Diavolo avoids fatal attacks by erasing the moments where he would have been hit. From the outside, it appears as if attacks pass through him, but in reality, those moments never happened. Fate manipulation breaks anime logic because effort becomes irrelevant. Strategy does not matter. Strength does not matter. If fate is controlled, victory is guaranteed. The darker implication of fate manipulation is the loss of free will. Characters believe they are making choices, but those choices were decided in advance. Their struggles are illusions, their victories are permitted, and their defeats are unavoidable. When fate itself is weaponized, stories lose agency, because no matter how hard characters fight, the ending has already been written. Most anime battles rely on escalation. Characters clash, struggle, adapt, and grow. Instant win conditions erase all of that. These abilities end fights the moment a single condition is met. No build-up, no counterplay, no second chance. A clear example appears in Death Note. Light Yagami wields the Death Note. If he knows a person's face and name, they die instantly. Distance doesn't matter. Strength doesn't matter. Defense is meaningless. Many powerful characters are killed without ever realizing they were attacked. There is no fight, only death. Another example appears in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind. Giorno Giovanna's Gold. Experience Requiem resets actions to 0. Any attempt to harm him is undone before it can succeed. An attack can land and yet never happen. His opponent is trapped in an endless loop of failure. Victory becomes impossible. In Code Geass, Lelouch Lamperouge possesses the Geass. With eye contact, he can issue one absolute command per person. Once spoken, resistance is impossible. Entire armies can be forced to surrender or self-destruct. Instant win conditions break conflict. When victory depends on a single trigger, everything else loses meaning. Training, strategy, and effort no longer matter. The darker implication is fragility. Life becomes conditional. Characters survive not because they are strong, but because the condition hasn't been met yet. At first, this creates tension, but once the power is understood, suspense fades. Every scene feels like a countdown. Instant win conditions don't just break battles, they break storytelling. Because stories need limits, risk, and the possibility of failure. When inevitability replaces uncertainty, drama disappears, and what remains isn't awe. It's silence. Like and subscribe for more content like this.